Thank you everyone for having us here today. We appreciate the invitation. Department of Transportation. I'm a transportation planning manager. I've worked with DOT for 16 years, a little over 16 years now. So a myriad of different things, including traffic operations. And in this as packet is labeled. And in that, we've given a couple different presentations. The area that's going to look pretty rental striking. packet, further in your packet on this. We have paired with that effort. So some of the other projects, intersection improvement project. didn't completely wear you and continue. Between the travel lanes to do a little bit of separation for vehicles going in either direction, and then some signage to help. honestly,
easy.
yeah, that's not necessarily handled out of my job. We've been coordinating closely with the ITS. Working with them, they do that.
Went down that road, they'd never. Terrible to try to turn a semi down the road. I think that, but yeah.
And just a statement is, it's not a shot, but if the city can't enforce the rules on State Road 20, then they shouldn't be able to enforce them on 19, 100, or 17 as well. So
Yeah, and I might not have understood it correctly. I mean, I know there's not I don't guess, and Terry, you might be able to help me with that. There's not a city ordinance on that or something.
It was, yeah, I think there was some vagueness to it, so what I'll do is, if it's okay with you, Madam Chair, is I'll reach out to Chief Shaw and have
Yeah.
a conversation with Chief Shaw.
Yeah, it would be nice if they just started stopping them, because I feel like if they did, the word would get out real quick, just like it does on any of the other enforcement issues. All right, so moving on, any other questions regarding the update on what FDOT is doing? The other Terry. Yes, you, Terry. The Ed, Terry. Ed,
Thank you,
Terry,
Madam.
Terry.
Thank
Next
you,
time I'm
Madam
not
Chair.
putting you two next to each other.
Ed and the other Eddie.
Okay.
My question for you is on State Road 100 at Barden Road. Are we going to do anything to the eastbound turning lane there, making a turning lane where it goes on to Barden Road?
I think we're looking at that. That was something that was brought to our attention last time we met, and so it's something we're looking at. I don't think we necessarily will. We're having some issues on that project.
So I think what you
Funding
told me
wise,
is it wouldn't be part of this resurfacing project, but it doesn't mean and it didn't quite meet the threshold for data to,
Yeah,
right?
the left turn volumes weren't
Yeah.
necessarily there to justify it. And again, the funding used for resurfacing is a dedicated type of funding that really, we have these specific lane mile targets throughout our district that we're trying to resurface a certain number of lane miles every year to make sure that our roadway condition is up to par. And so any of this additional scope that we're adding into these projects is kind of at the expense at the end for that lane mile, ultimate, we're using that fund source. And so we were able to get some scope items added, is my understanding, including the offset of the turn lane going in the other direction. And so we will continue to look at all of these intersections, and we'll monitor them and see if something needs to be done as a standalone project or as a future effort. Yeah, not initially. I don't think we're going to do that, but it is something I think we're still evaluating as part of that design.
Okay, thank you.
And again, Ed, I think that's one of if we end up making that as part of our recommendations to ask, like could be one of our asks.
Okay. And I know there's been a big thing on Facebook the last couple of weeks, talking about the trucks coming down 20. The smaller dump trucks, the ones, what are they, 8 wheels or something like that, coming through town. They actually had them filmed the other night, just running the red light at St.
Right.
John's and State Road 20, Crill Avenue.
Right.
Just running through it.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right. So that was, David, thank you for doing that. That was your Putnam County updates for all of you guys have actually started, okay, thank you. You guys have actually started doing a lot of projects already, and we appreciate that. Ms. Ryan, you recognize?
I don't know who is in charge of it, but who regulates the speed limit? On 20, you've got the 4-lane, and it's 50 miles an hour on the 4-lane, but on 100, a 2-lane, is 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So it's a pretty well-defined process for setting speed zones, or speed limits, I should say. We usually go out there and we'll sit on the side of the road and we will take a inventory of speeds for a certain duration of time and a certain number of vehicles, and then we plot that out on a bell curve, and somewhere, I think it's 80th percentile, we have a certain tolerance of setting the speed within range. So it's one of the issues is if we set it artificially low, let's say we set that speed limit for 20 miles an hour, some people would go 20 miles an hour, but some people are like, oh my gosh, this is a wide open rural typical section. It should be going 60, 65. So get this variable speed out there, so it creates a safety. That's how it's set. We do, and when we get a request for people driving too fast or go out there and perform one of those studies, I'm sure we have that, and I could probably provide those to you guys.
On
Some
100,
of
they
those
drive
studies.
80 because it says 60 or, you know, but on the 4-lane, I was confused because going from Gainesville to Interlaken, it's 50 miles an hour and it's a huge road.
You would think it would be the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For safety reasons,
Yeah.
especially.
Okay.
That's a great comment.
It's a good-
and
it's-
again,
yeah.
that's the type of feedback we want. I can provide you guys those those speed limit studies that we've done along the corridor. I'm sure we have some for this segment of roadway, and also State Road 20 for interested in that. I know it's a newer corridor, so we may not have something that I definitely can get something you guys.
What would you like to do next? Do you want to go into the data?
Yeah,
that
so
you
I'm on
provided?
page 6 of 104.
I know you're
I
on
don't know how
page 6
long
of
we have to,
104.
I'm not going to go through all of it. I just want to kind of quickly.
Are you using your slide presentation?
I'm not. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm just kind of going through this packet. Hopefully, you guys are following along.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to get those screens to pull it up.
That's okay.
Are you seeing the same screen I'm seeing?
No, I'm just, I'm
Okay.
not. That's why I was asking. Do you have a screen that you're seeing?
I do. I'm seeing, but it's.
That's what I wanted IT to make sure
Ah,
that
there
we
we
can
go.
see the
Okay.
screen. The screen that he's seeing is what we'd like to see. Thank you. And then also, can you do that on our monitors?
all along. Yeah, let me know when you guys can see it, and I'll.
You're
Oh,
fine.
you can. Okay, good.
We can see it only on that screen. We're supposed to be able to see it in front of us, but he's going to work on. Oh, it's just not here in the center. Just not here. Let's fall. He probably touched something. It's okay.
Okay. So I'll give you guys. Well, hopefully you're following along. Again, this is in the printed handouts I gave you guys. So our safety office did a quick review of the crashes on this little over 19 mile per segment of State Road 100. The study period that they looked at was from January of 2020 to March of 2023, so a little over 5 years. In that time frame, there was 32 of the type of crashes we really are paying the most attention to, which are a combination of the fatal and serious crashes. And so overall crashes, the ones that didn't result in serious or fatal, there was 345 total of them. And I'll try and put that a little bit into terms that are like, how does that compare to like an average roadway in our system as we get through this. But kind of moving on, you can see this graphic. And again, this isn't my presentation, so I'm kind of high level. I might some of the intent of what was trying to be conveyed in these. But you can see the hot spots of where we're seeing crashes along the corridor. And it's pretty evenly distributed throughout. There's a higher concentration at the intersections, but hopefully this would be a tool, that we could partner with law enforcement when they're doing enforcement. This is probably the areas you want to, where we're seeing incidents. I'm sure you guys have access to signal for all this data. But hopefully, if it's some tool we can put together for you guys to help concentrate that enforcement, we're happy to do that. So here's the volumes we were talking about a little bit. So again, these are current volumes. We're at the next page. Sorry, I'm trying to keep you guys along here, but looking over a little over 7,000, about 8,000 vehicles in this segment of roadway. And here are the speed limits throughout on State Road 20 on the next, State Road 100 on the next page. So we do have 60 mile per hour segments at State Road 26, heading into 315 where it drops down to 45 miles per hour through that area. Goes back up to 55 miles per hour and slows down. At 45, I think that's Flora Home, I want to believe. Mm-hmm. And then heading east, we have the long 60 mile per hour segment up to Barden Road. And then into Palatka in the 4-laning segment. All right, next page. Here's a kind of a catalog of the different types of crashes that we're seeing, and the different So you can see we're seeing predominantly off-road as well as rear-end crashes. The right angle and head-on are usually serious and fatal type crashes. But we also are seeing some of the more severe crashes in the side swipe and rollover. What we're seeing for the fatalities. But off-road is the rear end are the predominant crash types we're seeing along the corridor. Next page is some of the recent improvements we've done along some of these intersections to try and address some of these issues. We've installed an intersection conflict warning system at State Road 26 and 100. We have a concept looking at our future, it's a roundabout on here, but we're still workshopping that idea. And then County Road 315, we've done some signing and pavement marking improvements at that intersection. And we're also, again, looking at some kind of intersection control improvement there. It says roundabout here, but we're looking at a few different options. And then Barden Road, we've installed some signing and pavement marking improvements, some flashing beacons, and we're looking to install that westbound right turn lane offset as part of the resurfacing job.
And so, just real quick, David, when we're talking about an offset there, we're just saying a longer turn lane. What is that, or it's
so
wider, or what does that mean?
So offset meaning we're gonna pull it further away from the.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see coming out of that intersection. If you're coming off Barden Road, there'll be more to your left, so you'll be able to see past them on
Okay.
oncoming traffic.
Yeah, that is
Give you a
the
little bit more
major.
visibility.
Yeah, that is the problem right there. I just saw it the other day. Somebody missed by about an inch.
Yeah, and so deceleration length would be the other thing we'd be looking at is extending the turn lane length, so you have more to slow down before you turn
Okay.
if you're heading
All
that
right.
direction.
And then I don't know that we need to go through each one of these
Okay, yeah.
crashes. I think we're good.
Yeah,
on
but
that.
I just at a high level, if you're flipping through this, we detailed out all the different serious and fatal crashes along the corridor. We talked a little bit about some of the before and after. So you can see some of the improvements have really, we feel like, made a significant impact at State Road 26 and at Barden Road. The ones at County Road 315 really did not. In fact, we're showing a slight increase in crashes, honestly. So we're trying to be transparent that we're trying some other things short of a roundabout. That's a really complicated intersection. But we are seeing some success at the other, installed some of these countermeasures. And so again, as you go through this document, a lot of material here, you can see some of these plans. And hopefully you can see I'm going to kind of to some of these recommendations from our safety office.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Midway down page are we at? If you can see the screen, hopefully you're following along. But these are the recommendations that came from our safety office that we're trying to implement maybe as part of the resurfacing job or as a future standalone type improvement. But we saw a lot of nighttime crashes, so improving the lighting at some of the sections is something that this is at Street, Barden Road. Also looking at 315 to potentially install some light fixtures on existing poles or install new light poles as part of that project. At the State Road 26 intersection, lighting. For to address some of the sideswipe type crashes, we're looking at installing potentially more RPMs or the raised pavement markings along State Road 100. So if you see the screen there, you can see essentially doubling those amounts. So if you start to drift into the center line, you'll have the visibility of those reflective markings. So you'll have a bump of driving over them to alert you if you're starting to drift.
On page 51.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
You're fine.
I'm trying to
I
move
had to
quick.
find-
I want to
Yeah,
get to the
you're going
discussion
good.
portion, but I do want to let you guys know kind of what's in your packet. So we are looking at some sign improvements as well. We looked really closely at the fatal and serious crashes as well. And so those are detailed out. This is page where we at 57 in your packet. We wanted to really focus on fatal crashes, and a lot of them happen DUI related, and so it's something we wanted to bring up. That is something we're seeing in a lot of these. I think out of the 9 fatalities that we looked at, 6 of them relate tag on them in crash reports. We also looked at some of the different counties in our district. Putnam County does have a high DUI percentage, in relation to looking at some of the other counties. It looks like from a percentage-wise for these type of crashes, Putnam County is right around 60%, which is high. So something in terms of like when we're talking about education and enforcement and engineering, just understanding like this is what the data is showing. So again, wanted to provide that to you, what we're seeing. And these are the serious injury crashes, so you can kind of see where those are happening and what's causing them. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but they're there for you. So if you're interested in a certain area of the roadway, we try to break them down by location, so you can go each location and see what's going on. So kind of looking ahead, I think I mentioned the PD&E study update. So we started that PD&E back 2015, whatever that was. We finished in 2019, the passing lane study. We kept that contract open. We're laying out a 4-laning just to get some good cost estimates, maybe some segmentation on where a 4-laning would, in terms of an implementation, prioritization strategy, try and get funding in the future as traffic grows. We also have these resurfacing improvements that we're going to be hopefully doing here soon. Barden Road right turn lane offset, the no passing zone modifications and shoulder treatments, and those are kind of the main ones. We're looking at the County Road 315 intersection at State Road 100. We also have our standard programs that we're looking. So I think I'm going to not necessarily go through much of this, but at a very high level, just talking about how does State Road 100 rank in terms of the amount of crash type and seriousness of these crashes versus other similar 2-lane undivided rural roadways. We try and pull that information out, and it's no doubt about a bad segment of road. So definitely in there. It's in our top 10 around Barden, and kind of as you move west, it's in the top concern in terms of this type of facility. Here's those different segments kind of detailed out, and so you can see where crashes are falling based on broken down per million vehicles traveled, so everything. And how does that compare as a statewide high crash segment versus other similar corridors? You're 60, 70-ish for the state. So again, I think it's just important to, from a high level, understand that we're trying to. This is a serious problem for us. We have a lot of these high-speed rural 2-lane facilities are just, fortunately, when a crash happens, it is
Right.
So it's something we're contending with statewide. Just trying to put some perspective on how this county and this segment kind of stacks up against neighbors. And some of this data is a little bit, when you're talking about counties and fatalities per 100,000, I think this data can be a little bit misunderstood because some of these counties have interstates going through them, and obviously that's going to skew the numbers a lot higher than you'll see in Putnam County, which doesn't have an interstate. So these numbers, I don't necessarily like to dive too closely into them or look too hard at comparing these counties because, again, most of these rural counties do have an interstate system through. It's not really fair to Putnam County to be stacked up against an interstate system, which is really not local traffic issues. But it's there for reference. There's a whole bunch of information here. I'm not going to dive into it, but it's here for you guys. We're happy to interpret it. I think we've went painstakingly page through page on some of this stuff with Commissioner Wilkinson, so she can also navigate some of this conversation. But without further data analysis, I just want to see if you guys have any questions about what I've presented. Is there something you would like to see in addition to this? We try to just give it to you as we're seeing it, and hopefully generate some good conversations. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question on the resurfacing plan. I just kind of want to know a couple things. What's your timeline on that? And the second was it had something mentioned about shoulders, which is something that those of us who drive 100 every day, especially that really dangerous stretch, the shoulders are a concern, and it feels like a quick and easy. There's nothing quick and easy, but fairly straightforward improvement that could be made to the road on a short, kind of more on a short-term basis. Yeah,
we've definitely heard that feedback. I know they're looking at it. I'm not exactly sure where they're at in the design team. I don't think you're going to see a full-blown shoulder widening for the entire length of the project. It is there's a swale system for retention and conveyance of water coming off of the roadway. And so any I guess, widening of the roadway itself would push into those drainage ditches, which is why you don't have a lot of room to pull off, honestly. Which then trips you into some environmental permitting.
Right.
And again, if you do it with impervious areas such as asphalt, you have to treat that additional pervious runoff through ponds, which requires right-of-way acquisition, permitting. It really does. It seems like a straightforward, hey, let's just add a few feet of asphalt in either direction. It quickly becomes complicated, and it starts to pull away from like, hey, the intent is to replace the roadway surface first. And again, we have very kind of well-defined design standards as well that we're trying to adhere to, and those are based on a lot of experience and empirical data and also research. And one of the things you don't want to do is an unintended consequence. Let's say you have let's just say, for instance, like a 12-foot wide shoulder. Now, people might be using that as a passing lane. So, some unintended use that you think you're doing good, you end up exasperating the issue. I'm not saying that would happen, but I think that's a lot of times what you end up seeing a very, hopefully, similar roadway segment, whether you're in Putnam County, Union County, or anywhere in Florida, you kind of a look on.
But David, it
Yes.
looks like it looks like you're going to do, or FDOT is going to do shoulder improvements where and when they can.
Yeah.
Not when, but during this resurfacing, wherever they can, that would make a difference. That's what you guys are looking at. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's correct. We are evaluating
Yeah.
that.
So if there's an area that can be without going through all of that other stuff, then that's what part of the consideration.
Yeah, and absolutely, we'll definitely be, addressing the existing shoulder as well to make sure that there's no drop-offs, that the sod is stabilized, everything's looking good. So if there's any issues out there with erosion or some other over time deterioration of the shoulder, we'll definitely be coming through there, addressing that as part of this project. Yeah, it's actually in your packet. If you go to the updates, I think we're talking about October of 26, if my brain is, oh, no, it's 100. Yeah, it's planned for construction October of
Yeah, I got
2026.
two people ahead
It's part of that project number that's listed on number 2. Yep. So we're coming.
Very good. I think I got a couple more questions for you. Chief, is it Chief? Oh, it's Sandy. You have a question?
2 questions, and I'll let you go, I promise.
That's okay.
That's what you said last time.
So, did COVID affect the accidents? Were there less non-commercial vehicles on the road, so the accidents are skewed in any way? That's one. And then 2, 100 seems, just haven't gone on it today, it's such a different road between Palatka and Lake Butler. And after Lake Butler, it's just an easy thing to drive. I mean, what makes that difference? Is it the amount of volume of people? Anyway,
Yeah, I'll try and address the first question. So there was a dramatic impact, obviously, to traffic during COVID and, subsequently crashes. I thought a lot of areas had 30% reduction, up to 50% reduction in daily volumes. And so that traffic's come back since then. It's back to pre-COVID. It's grown since then. For a while there, it was coming back in a different peak hours. So we would see people, instead of coming in at 8 a.m. and going home at 5 p.m., they'd be teleworking and doing errands. So their travel patterns were changing a lot. And I think one thing we have seen in a lot of local communities are contending with is the increase in truck volume. A lot of people are ordering stuff now. I think that kind of unlocked this new way of shopping for a lot of people. Like, hey, I don't want to go out and go to these stores and be interfacing with people. But I need this product to come to my house. And so you're seeing a lot more of these box truck delivery, other kind of freight that supports that kind of the lifeblood of society. And so you're seeing a lot of those type of trips. And for whatever reason, I don't know if people are less patient these days, but for a while there, we were seeing a big uptick in serious and fatal crashes just based on driver behavior, speeding, sort of thing. I don't know if law enforcement, I see you're nodding your head. That's what the data is showing, is people are just driving more aggressively. And maybe the phone. I know there's a lot of distractions in today's vehicles that maybe weren't there before. You got a screen this big on a lot of cars. And so there's a lot that can contribute to crashes, and we're in a whole,
The only thing I wondered, could it skew the accident reporting because we don't have as many? You know, since your numbers were really from 2020 to 2025, you know, you got 2.5 years of people not driving as much. That was my only point.
yeah, no, and that's a good point. I think data, I think, we're trying to portray the data as we see it. Again, we can attribute some of these reductions in crashes to our projects, right, that we've done, but maybe it's unrelated. Maybe there's some new road that opened that people are now using or something that's causing that. I'd like to believe it's the countermeasures we've installed, but ultimately data is a tool that we try and interpret. But yeah, that's a loaded question. I gave you a very waffly response, so I'm sorry.
I think you said your time frame was 2026, right? You were looking, yeah, I thought that, I saw that. So somebody on this side of the dais, who's asking a question? All right, Ms. Terry.
Me personally, I don't know if we've looked at that, but I'll look into that for sure. It's something we're still looking at, so definitely, yeah, I'll definitely be swinging by there. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. But yeah, again, it could be attributed to some of these crashes that we're seeing.
All right.
Flight distance.
So David, before you, and did you want to talk about the traffic truths regarding
Oh yeah, so,
just the signage at Barden Road? I think that's very pertinent.
thank you for that lifeline. So all that data I just went over, our PIO office kind of put it into some easier to digest infographics, and that's what you're looking at. We took that same data, all that information that our safety office pulled together, and working with the safety office, our PII team, public information office, put together this kind of quick facts. What we're seeing, fatalities have reduced along the corridor, which is promising. We do want to see that trend going in the direction. We are kind of pointing out that the DUI statistic again. We're trying to get these crashes and serious and fatal crashes down to zero, and I think that's something that we're seeing as a contributing factor. And so, if we can help with some of the outreach to address that, we definitely want to partner and be out in the community and try and address that topic itself. And again, this is just a breakdown for easy reference. You can kind of see what we're seeing through that data, and so some of it is promising. I know it's a tough corridor, but we are seeing some good trends. Hopefully that we can, and some ideas on maybe where we need to be working with that infographic. And I don't know, you guys are probably tired of hearing from me. I don't know if you want to hear from Bert from a PIO office.
We
Okay.
do.
Yes,
So
okay.
what we're going to do real quick is we're going to take just a 3-minute recess, and then we do want to hear about your outreach programs you got, and then we'll move on.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, David. information you have. It's already been very helpful, I'm sure, for the entire team to know what you're currently working on and what you've been evaluating in that area. So, Bert, welcome.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, Commissioner. Thank you for letting us come by and talk to you and share some of the things that we're trying to do to accomplish our collective goal. We're very pleased to be part of the team, and I apologize, I'm using little notes. I'm old enough to remember when we wrote things down on paper.
Right, I still do that too.
You've
But I'm not
also,
old, I'm young. That's what I'm sticking with anyway.
but you also have next to you a thumb drive that looks a whole lot like this, that will have everything I'm going to show you as a resource available to you. Understanding that there's a older form and a newer form, what hasn't changed is DOT's focus on safety. We have to make sure as our primary objective that everyone gets home. I remember Arrive Alive, we still use that, but our focus is to make sure that everybody is safe on the road. It's a challenge sometimes, and this is one of those examples, but we are part of the team. Law enforcement, legislation, community involvement, we all play a part, and we're just one of the team members. That being said, we're trying to make sure as a department that we maintain an understanding of the charm of Palatka and what you're trying to achieve with your roadways, and reaching out to your community to improve behaviors on our very nice roads. As you've seen, our efforts, as was pointed out, of course, the signage did a 61% reduction in crashes. As David pointed out, there's a lot of potential contributors to that, but of course, we're going to take credit for that because we put up the signs and we've got that decrease in crashes, and that's our goal. We want to decrease crashes, increase safety. We're also looking at trying to make sure that law enforcement is part of the problem, part of the solution, because there are a number of problems. We can't solve every problem because of a road. People are still going to make poor choices, and we depend on that partnership to make sure that the good road is met with good drivers. And with that, I'm going to look at an effort that our team put together, the State Road 100% sober effort. Can you see this on the screens now?
Yeah, we can, thank you.
Okay. I'm not going to go through all the facts. By the way, my homework is a lot less than David's, much shorter, less than 100 pages. We can look at the state roads, we can look at the intersections, we can look at the lights, but we want to communicate with the people, with the drivers, with the community. And looking at our outreach, we have messages that we want to promote. Some of the signs you've seen in front of you there, highlighting the cost of a DUI, and law enforcement knows well the financial aspects are just the beginning. If someone's in an accident, usually the person that walks away is the driver that's under impairment. The societal cost is substantial, so we're trying to, again, reach out, show what's going on with the impact of poor decisions, and say, let's choose another option. And that also includes reaching out with calling a friend or getting an app, an Uber, a taxi, whatever it is, a bicycle, okay, it's still driving, I apologize.
Well, not on 100. You don't want to be on a bicycle on 100.
Anything but you behind the wheel if you're impaired, and we're trying to inspire a consideration of that. We're not there to say if someone can or cannot. We're just saying, please consider that. Make sure that is part of your thought process when you're walking out the door. We've thought of a number of things. Some of them are potential for you to use, some maybe not, but everything from koozies to coasters, partnering with applications, businesses, taxis, any way to get home. If we can enable that, give them that choice, inspire that choice before they make a poor decision, we're trying to do that. And these are, again, some of the efforts. engaging friends and all. When someone says, I'm good to drive, someone's got to say, actually, no, you're not. And that's not peer pressure as much as it is just common sense, looking after each other. So pushing that, promoting it, cajoling people, engaging the community to work with us as a department dedicated to transportation. We also want to enhance good choices in the behavior. And with that, I can take questions. I wanted to really give you a sense of where we're trying to go with public information, consistent with building roads, but engaging the community.
Yeah, I'll start. So this is a campaign that you're proposing,
Yes.
right? That hasn't started yet, and obviously State Road 100% sober. I like the catchy phrase to it. I think what we all are probably somewhat taken back by, at least I am, that nearly 60% of the fatalities involve DUIs. So that is something that I think is new knowledge. If y'all knew it, I guess I didn't know it quite as much. So that is, I'm a little bit blown away by the number.
I'll bet at least one of you know that was the case.
Right, so when I look at this and I see that you would have some target outreach, maybe some mesh banners or billboards on 100 or outside businesses, what I would say is, would it be helpful, because you guys aren't in this community, right? And so all of us up here, some of us actually live on 100 or off of 100. Would it be helpful if we're going to go through with this kind of a campaign that we can reach out to maybe some business owners we know and share that information with you? I mean, Marlene, I'm already thinking of Coventry. I'm sure she would be willing to put up maybe a banner if it was available.
Let me
or
short
something
circle that.
like
The short
that.
answer, yes.
Okay.
We encourage that. We want the community to be involved. This is not a us or them, it's
Yes. Okay.
we. Absolutely.
Okay. So that's what I would want to know is what is it, how can we help you guys get the message out and see what we could do on our end as a task force and as just being community engaged?
That's exactly why that thumb drive is there. These materials are all on there. You can print them out and say, would you do this, post this, show this?
Okay.
And with that, let me try and, this is going to be a challenge. Let me try and get that video up
Okay.
to show you. Of course, the video's not working.
Oh my goodness. So that's obviously something you already have out, and that's across the state?
You
or
have it all.
That's what that's on here as well?
It's one of the things on there, absolutely. Of
Okay.
course, we had to get the FDOT logo.
Right. So, but this is a campaign that's a statewide campaign?
It started off as just District 2. And by the way, District 2 that you're in goes literally from ocean to Gulf.
Okay.
We're across the entire state. So bringing Putnam County attention is a high priority, but you're on the top of the list of getting attention, and we know you deserve that and need it. That's why it's there. We focus this on the 100 Deadliest Days. It is around the state. In fact, it's going to other states. This particular video was very well done. The authenticity, I hope you felt that the authenticity of the children, young adults, speaking to young adults has a lot of gravity to it. The lack of drama and the factualness of it, I think that they've really hit a sweet spot there, and I'm really proud of that video. So yes, it is statewide and beyond. We've had calls from Texas and Georgia. It's just a good effort. So that is available to you to put in wherever you want to put it. There's no copyright on this, so please utilize that.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions so far? Miss Sandy?
I was counting on you.
Good, I'm glad you were. So, like, we don't have ride share capabilities in this county. Can this be edited to really maybe take that away or push the friend more?
We're here to get information just like legislators are. We're here to receive information, so we can manage things. You can, if you've got someone...
I'm just thinking about this being in a bar, they'd laugh at this, because what taxi are you going to call? What Uber doesn't service, Lyft doesn't service, anything like that. So even if you have that, it's strictly a friend. So I didn't know if there was some other counties that might have the same problems.
I think we do have some. Your point is, we don't have it like you would have in Jacksonville or places like that. Yeah, it's you may or may not turn Uber on and may or may not get a driver.
I can get an Uber to my house right now for $13 and they'll be here in 6 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of, I think the thing is I think that's part of the problem though too, is that we don't know that we have ride shares in our community. And I think that could be part of, we've got to change. What I'm hearing is that we're going to have to change behaviors long before we're going to get this road changed.
Right.
And so
It's a multi
yeah.
effort.
We're going to have to figure out ways, including, making ride shares a little bit easier if that is something that might be something that people can do, or finding other ways around it. But yeah, we can't, they're not, thank you for all that you've done so far, but they're not going to solve the problem in the next year and a half.
There are problems that we can help with, and there's others we cannot.
Right.
And the part we cannot are the behavioral choices, and
Right.
that's why we want to add our outreach to that to try and help, again, leverage that good decision with a good road.
Joe, is there a group that comes into your schools or says anything or any information that goes out to schools?
Yes, DOT sends a group out, and they're always willing to, and try to get to the schools, and they're the ones advocating to please come, and they will come to all of the school things with the students. I don't know what the effectiveness of that is, because I see this is hopeful to me in the sense of teens talking to teens will
Right.
improve that, but also I got a feeling that our DUI deaths on 100 aren't teenagers. The reality is that it's us. It's
Yeah.
It's people we know, it's people we're friends with, and they're making poor choices, and those poor can be catastrophic and are catastrophic. So yeah, we have to change some really basic decisions and behaviors in our community to impact that.
So that's a good point. And when you talked about we haven't got there yet, but the geocaching, I think it's in geotech, whatever the right word is.
Geofencing, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I know it said something about a targeted age, like the younger than all of us age. 20s to 30s, 20s to 30s, but to Joe's point, it could be that that's not the age group. But I know that's the demographics that more than likely has the DUIs. Is that right?
We have well, I might defer to law enforcement on that, but we have some information that we're analyzing, and we may be in for some surprises as to who's doing what at what point, and the difference between a speeding ticket, age, propensity, a DUI age propensity and a crash propensity, maybe completely different universes. So
Okay.
we're going to be looking at that and drilling down into the exact numbers. And if we're talking about a specific speeding universe, it might be the wrong universe we're talking to.
Right.
They'll all benefit from a better driving experience, but we want to make sure that if the most catastrophic decisions are, we get some information to them as well. So again, we're partnering with the community. It was a very, very good point, and it may actually be accurate. But we want to get some information. We'll certainly partner with law enforcement and say, this is what we're seeing. Is that correct? And we're usually using their information to start with.
Right, right. Mr. Leary?
Thank you. So, for 25 years, I represented the Outdoor Advertising Association, and probably in that 25 years, we had a major battle with DOT every year, and permit a billboard today is, probably easy to...
Bridge to Hawaii? Maybe?
Yeah. So, but they are the most effective, as has been borne out with our amber and silver alerts, hurricane disaster, and all those types of things. They're currently, there may be one or two grandfathered between Palatka and Lake Butler, but that's the venue, and I'm not talking about the 52 feet ones. I'm talking about the 40-foot, 36-foot ones that are electronic, and you can have multiple things,
Yeah.
including advertising. And because if you're leaving Palatka and the old where the old country store was right there, or is.
Oh, Carolyn Davis, Springside Cutoff
Yeah, there was a billboard there that went back to the.
was
I mean,
right
I could-
before Barden Road.
Yeah, and so if you had something like that where you had this,
Yes.
flashing, say, coming on.
Something
rotation
along that line, yes, sir.
Every 3 to 5 minutes, I can tell you that you would think about this. It's proven fact for at least 30 to 45 minutes. I mean, it stays in your brain, the back of your brain. To me, that could be part of the solution. Electronic advertising, a billboard of fashion. There are a couple sites that I think would qualify for that. One that was there at Springside,
Is gone.
it's gone, but
It's gone.
but it's still a commercial.
Oh, I get your point. I get your
I
point.
mean, the property has to be commercial, and you can't rezone it specifically for the billboard. If we could find a few of those locations in critical points along that stretch between Palatka and, I don't know if Lake Butler, at least to Keystone, maybe one east and one west, I think it would do wonders.
Well, if some folks who want to apply for a billboard permit, certainly working with the county commission and applying to the FDOT. I don't know all the regulations that have to be met in order
Well,
to qualify.
Clay County, they banned billboards 20 years ago unless you take one down, replace it, but you
Grandfather,
can't
yeah.
build any new. I don't know what we did. Where are we at in
I
Putnam
don't know that
County?
we never heard it talked about.
I think there's a cap and replacement here in the county too that illustrious past planners put in place, but I can't remember. But at any rate, I think that would be phenomenal.
If you have a billboard available, we could certainly look at the funding potential for
Right.
utilizing it.
Public service, they are.
Yeah.
And the billboard companies, public service too.
How,
yes or
how are
an
these
answer, right?
things, I guess my question is, how are these funded? Or is there,
How or what fund? I'm sorry, ma'am.
these outreach programs, are they all funded through DOT or?
Have a funding line available, and as I said, Putnam County gets a good amount of that in comparison to other counties. So we're really focused on making sure we get the word out and respond to the requirements and the need of Putnam County.
Okay,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
I want to agree with Mr. Leary because about a billboard, I mean, I started thinking that a while ago when you passed these out. That not so fast thing caught my eye. I was just telling Ms. Ryan before the before we started today, I was passed coming out of the airport yesterday, day before. I was about the sixth car ahead of this car that came around us between the airport and the water management area. And it came out and passed flying. And when it came by, it was a tag that was an out-of-state tag. And people don't realize the, what they're passing through or what they're going through. I mean, it's not all that, I know there's a lot of local people that have the access to stuff, but there is a lot of these out-of-state tags that come through. And I agree with Mr. Leary that one section right there where they used to have the old sign at, if you put something up there like that, not so fast, pay attention to what you're doing, or right there, especially before you get to Barden Road. I mean, I've seen people come out on that no passing zone and go through Barden Road, and people are trying to come out off of Barden Road on 100.
All day.
All day long, every day,
Oh.
it happens. And I agree with you about the stretch, taking the stretch back a little bit so people can, or widen it so people can see. But I think that it's some kind of signs like these, along Barden Road between there and Granted, that's, where there's a lot of accidents.
We can certainly be looking at and consider the signage opportunities we've just seen in one intersection where it has made a difference,
Yep.
Right.
according to us. But we can look at that. It's also, again, a partnership with law enforcement. Those
Right.
folks who are violating the law, we need to say that's
Well,
not the best decision.
I've got to give my hats off to the Putnam County Sheriff's Department because they're busting their butts out there when you go through there. I mean, they got them pulled everywhere. So I mean, they're doing their part. I'm just saying that, like I say, Mr. Leary brought up a good idea. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a,
Somebody on this side have a dais, because the dais have a question, because I've
Yes,
got,
ma'am.
okay, go ahead. Mr.
So
Theobald.
we had a good deal of data beforehand. I was wondering if there's any, and I would imagine it might come from the Sheriff's Department. Do y'all have any data from when you in conjunction with Highway Patrol really started cracking down on 100, driving it every day? I noticed it for sure. And I wasn't sure if it continued after the school year ended. I haven't noticed it as much. And then I don't know if y'all had any data as far as what outcomes we saw in that 3 or 4 month period, because it felt safer. So I don't know if y'all could speak to that.
No, so we have not discontinued it, but it's like everything. Calls for service generated may, bring it up or bring it down depending on how that goes. But we are moving forward with, as the sheriff's office goes, I don't have the data with me today. We do have our analyst that's going to continue to present that data for each one of these meetings forthcoming. And we're also moving forward with a part-time traffic enforcement unit that will start doing multiple operations monthly at the targeted locations that are generated by the data that we're seeing in this packet.
Okay, is there somebody on this side of the dais? Okay. Okay, and then I have Mr. Coates.
Yeah, this goes back a few years, but which is not there anymore. But Bruner's used to have the big billboard outside their business. There are still other businesses throughout the county that have billboards and signs and things that are up. We could reach out to them and ask them if they could do that. Also, to Sam Wimberly is
who
one
I
of our
was thinking.
local
Yeah, that's who it was.
folks that has a bunch of billboards and things. We could ask him if we could, if he would donate one. It was for 6 months or a year. I don't think he has any on State Road 100, but still, it is in Putnam County, and that
Right.
message would still get out. And I'd be glad to contact Sam if you'd like. I mean,
Yeah,
I do have
absolutely.
his
See if
number,
he's
so.
got anything available, and then we can connect them with DOT. I think that's always a plus.
Anything we can do to partner with the community, we want to. We may be constrained by budget, but until we know what's being requested or permitted by the community, we don't know what to try and ask for as far as funding. So let us know what your options are, what you think would be most valuable to you and the community, and we'll try and respond to that to the best of our ability.
Is there funding available? I mean, Sam's a good friend of mine too, and I can tell you those boards bring $800 to $1,200 a month, per side.
Yes.
Is there
We don't have a line for billboards right now. that'd have to be a separate request and consideration. If we get a request and with an amount that is specific, I'll have to be able to send it over and see what we get from the central office.
I know the state, I'm not sure which department, but they do pay the billboard outside advertising companies for some public service announcements. I mean, and they get some free. And
Yes, sir.
as part of that, I don't know, I'm trying to think, maybe it's.
I don't know all the specifics on the options. I know there are some
But
available.
it'd be something we could certainly look at.
Yes, please. We'd like that.
Okay, so just to be clear, and I'll get to you in just a second. Just to be clear, so we've got these campaigns, the electronic ones can already be shared already. We've got these yard signs that can be shared. If we did have a company like the one I mentioned, like Coventry, can we get a banner if we needed? Is that an easy
I'm
ask?
pretty sure we could get a banner.
Because they only run $100,
Yes.
little bit of money. Okay, $200. Okay, so that kind of stuff we can go ahead and share with the community, is what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Miss Sandy.
One thing I was going to bring to the table is the FMCSA, or the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, had over $84 million in grants available to different municipalities, you're familiar with what I'm saying, right? Right. And, unfortunately, what I saw available expires tomorrow. So, but it doesn't mean they won't extend the grant funding, so you can apply. I'm not a grant writer. I assume we have someone that could help us with that or pay someone to do it, but it is for safety programs for different state, local, municipalities.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's what you would look up is grants.gov, I think is what it is, or FMCSA.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. And I think, David, if you could ask the sheriff when you get back, is there any kind of grants that we could go after to do? I mean, I'll just say what I need to say. I haven't seen a DUI stop in a long time. I know you individually stop people, but I haven't seen like a DUI checkpoint. Do we just not do those, or is there is that just a different way of enforcement now than what it used to be when I remembered back and there was DUI checkpoints?
So they're probably not as often as we did. I think we did 2 last year.
Oh, okay.
They are done slightly different, and they're, as all things, laws change, and the ability and advertisement prior to, along with the postings before the checkpoint. There's a lot of things that have changed that don't, that probably aren't as efficient as they once were.
I gotcha.
But we do still do them, but not as often
Okay.
as maybe in the past.
And then is there grant funding to help the sheriff's office with those kind of enforcement activities?
DOT does offer a DUI grant as well as some other traffic safety grants. So that's things that we are considering. We've looked at them in the past. I think we missed the window this year, but we did apply for them the year prior.
Okay.
So there's something that we do consider, but we did miss the deadline this year.
Yeah, and I know, sometimes grants aren't always, while they look good on the outside, when you're the agency that's applying them, they're not always the best either, because there's a lot of strings, and I don't know the details in this one. But it's just something that I was curious about, if it was something that the sheriff's office has looked into. So very good information. Do you have anything else?
I'm here to respond to you.
I think we're good. Is there any other questions? All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Great
you for your time.
information. All right, with that, we're going to go into public comment. I have 3 public comment cards. I will start with Wayne Davis. If you will come up to the podium and speak. Just give your name and address for our record, please. Your name and address.
Wayne Davis, 6302 Baker Road in Keystone Heights.
Yes, sir, if you'll pull that mic up a little bit. I know it won't reach
Can you
you,
hear
your
me here?
top. Yeah, that's better. No.
Yeah, I live in Keystone Heights.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how much I can contribute. All I can do is just tell you my story. I'm one of the
Okay.
survivors on 100. He gave me one of the packages there, and actually looking through it, one of the diagrams in their drawing is actually my accident.
Yeah.
Head-on collision right there at Bartram. I know everybody's talked about Bartram Road being an issue. They put the flashing lights up after my accident, I don't know if it's because of my accident, but, you know, I drive that road all the time also. And all I was doing, I was just going to Ed's Donuts one morning to get donuts for the family, and then next thing I know, I'm being loaded in the back of a helicopter, and they're flying me to Shands. The other driver was a 19-year-old kid, just turned 19 the day before, hit me head on, and he got burned up pretty bad, but he survived, and they flew him to, you know, some burn center. But I know what some people have talked about, we have to try to change the behavior of people, because we can do some tricks and things and turnarounds and flashing lights, but man, it's hard to get people just to take, account of what they're doing and speeding and tailgating and going too fast or on their cell phone, which we've all seen on 100. And I was like Sandy said, you know, I was driving 100 a day, trying to keep my cool, knowing I was going to be here today to be able to say something, because it was just so bad. They were going either too slow in 10 cars and you can't go around all of them, or they're going too fast and they're driving on your butt and, you know, and pushing you along. But I just wanted just to tell my story of, you know, that there's people who are really getting hurt out there, and I was one of those. And it took me over a year to get my arm to work anymore. I can't go to work anymore, so I'm pretty much retired now because of what happened to me. I look better because I did a lot of work, and I have to say, man, the people out here that were the law enforcement and EMT stuff, man, took care of me so good out here. They were right on it, because I heard all the stories from some of the sheriff's offices that came after that I talked to the FHP. Man, they did a great job taking care of me. You don't really know and appreciate it until it happens to you. But man, they were just like on TV, where they get you out of the truck and they, you know, take care of you, and just, it was amazing. And even at the hospital, they took care of me. So I got more of a appreciation of what happens after the fact. The people, their job is to, you know, get us in the ambulance and fly us to whatever, and the doctors will work on us. I mean, I just have appreciation for that. But I just wanted to tell my story of I am, I guess, a face of what can happen and does happen to people on 100. And there is an issue, and I'm so happy that when I heard about y'all gonna have this task force, I thought it was a great idea. And I wanna just, whatever I could do to try to help. I tell my people my story and try to get them, it's like, man, you just gotta pay attention and just watch what you're doing, you know, because you just go right on and hit someone head on, like it happened to me.
Yeah.
That's my story. I appreciate y'all letting me be able to tell that. And thank you so much for doing this task force and stuff. Whatever y'all need from people out in the community, I'm there for you to help you out any way I can.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing your
Thank you.
story and speaking with us today. Deanie Diver? Hey, Miss Diver, how are you?
Good morning, good afternoon.
Right.
This is something that's very close to my heart,
Yes, ma'am.
because on Tuesday, February 25th, I got a phone call from my daughter, who was Jessica Daughtry's best friend. She was in tears. She was driving to Gainesville from Jacksonville, where she lived. And she told me that she was alert and conscious, but she didn't know the status. But when she got to Gainesville, she soon found out that her friend was no longer with us. Now, I know our governor has recently passed a bill, and it has been signed into law, that all students, or before they can get a driver's license, must take a driver's safety course. And thank God for that, because that was one of the things we talked about at the first meeting, was education is very important, especially to the younger people. It's not just the younger people, though. I have here, FloridaPolitics.com. Putnam County is ranked 5th in the nation, not just in the state of Florida. They are ranked 5th in the nation for traffic fatalities. Now, it's not just on Highway 100, but it is in the whole county. I live off of 19 South. My address is 137 Karen Court. I have to drive through that subdivision at Hermitage Shores to get to my home. I live beyond the subdivision on the Divers homestead that's been there for 6 generations. They had the Penile store on Penile Church Road, or Penile Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've lived there years. And so many people in that neighborhood have been hit. in the rear end trying to turn into the subdivision. They have cars going around them, sideswiping them.
That's
It's-
right there on that curve.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yes,
And just past, there's a traffic light where the Citgo station is, or I think it's Citgo. And once they get the green light, it's like they put the pedal to the metal and they don't, you go around a curve. But I lost what I felt like was my second daughter the day on February 25th. My daughter has not gotten over it. Every Tuesday she calls me crying. She's 37 years old. She had a friend that she could confide in. She loved her dearly. We all love her, and we're going to keep her alive. Her memory is on my chest right now. And it breaks my heart that this is not going to happen until October 26th. It needs to happen now. Why hasn't it happened before now? I mean, I know other people have lost family members on that road.
Are you talking about the resurfacing?
I'm talking about fixing the problem.
Well, it's a multitude of problems.
It is.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
is definitely a multitude of problems. But I want to see it addressed sooner. They've got, I mean, I know the sheriff's office is out there working, highway patrol is out there working, but I don't want another family to get that phone call. It's the worst phone call that any mother, father, grandparent can get. And to see anybody else lose their life on that road breaks my heart. We have a wonderful school out there, which I just recently attended for the first time, even though my son-in-law was a teacher there for many years before he went to Bahrain to work for the Department of Justice as a school teacher. But I worry about those children going to school every day, the teachers driving to school every day. And there are so many. I was in an accident coming back from the hospital in Gainesville on 26 myself, where someone was not paying attention behind me. I was stopping to let someone turn off, and I, from my law enforcement days, tried to avoid the accident by driving off the road, but I couldn't get off the road because of the trees. I looked at going into the other lane, but I had a car coming in that lane. My car, I was driving my husband's truck, and it was really messed up. The guy behind me, his car was totaled, the one that hit me. Fortunately, neither of us were injured because we were wearing our seatbelts. But we have to educate these kids. We have to educate the community to what has happened here. I don't want anyone else to ever get that phone call. It's heartbreaking.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know that we will ever get over it. We lost a precious person who loved the Lord, and everywhere she went, she spread that. And I think our schools owe it to our children. They have to learn driver's education. When I graduated in 1977 from the last graduating class at Palatka Central High School, we couldn't get a driver's license unless we had driver's education. We got a certificate, and we took it over to the highway patrol, and then they would let us take our driving test. These kids don't get that anymore. So I'm praying that the schools will do it. I know they said they were going to do it in summer schools at the last, but
And they've
I
already
think with
started
the
that.
new passing of the law, they need to put it in on the curriculum all year long.
Well, just like the legislature has done for the last 25 years, they have defunded public schools and money's going to charter and private schools and everything else. That's one of the reductions was the driver's education class. They were held, we had classes every period at Palatka South High School. I graduated in 74.
Right.
Did the same thing you did. Got my certificate, went through, what was that, a 5-month, program, and you drove every day just about
Right.
with your driver's education teacher, and it made a difference. And so I'd like to see that come back, but what the legislature's doing now is they're essentially there won't be public schools in 20 years, I don't think, that like we see today. And you can thank the legislature for that. So call Senator Leake's office and call Representative Justin Sapp's office, and you tell them.
Well, actually, my granddaughter was the administrative aide for the Speaker of the House, who just recently retired, Paul Renner. She still works for him, Samantha Story.
Amy, yep.
Yep. Very proud of her and the work that they did. And they have the governor's ear.
Good.
And I have informed her of all of this, and she has promised me that she will talk to Paul, and Paul will talk to the governor, and maybe we can get some more funding that way.
That's the key. We don't have the funding for the vehicles, for the instructors. And driving on a high school parking lot out there is not like driving out in the community and that type of thing. So,
They used to do it at Palatka High.
and they did it for they did it for like a high up until.
Yeah, they had a driving course that they had to go through. They had to parallel park and everything.
Well, they still have that, but I'm talking about driving out on the road.
Into the community is what he's saying.
Community,
Yeah.
Right, I understand that, and
19.
it's not the same as it was, but I don't know, if they can drive on that parking lot out there, then they need to be able to go out on the roadway.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for coming. I can tell you, we're all here on our own accord, volunteering to try to help with the situation.
And I appreciate every one of y'all that
And,
are
and
volunteering.
DOT has been a good partner so far, as well as the sheriff's office, in trying to come up with solutions. Some of them are long-term, some of them are short-term. They're doing the short-term ones as quick as they can, and we said that from the beginning, where there would be some short-term goals and long-term, and that's what it is. And so this package that we got, and we can certainly share it with you. He didn't get to go through all of it, but it has a lot of good data in there, and some dates of when they would have some completions. But some of them are more within the next year, within a year's time.
That's good to know. And back to where I live at, there's 2 deputies that live in that subdivision.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I fear for them.
Yeah.
They come in and out too.
Yep.
And it's a race course, and they're all headed to the hog waller on Friday nights. So I don't even leave my house on Friday because of that.
Well, I know I know from speaking with DOT when I worked for Representative Payne's office, they actually did a study on that curve, and the issue is stopping. If you were to put some kind of a red light or a turn lane, it's a little bit tricky right there.
Well,
So
they have turn
looked at
lanes
it.
at Point of the Woods, and they have it at all the subdivisions.
Yes, ma'am, but
until
those
you
aren't
get-
on curves, and I think that's the issue, is the curve right there. That's really the issue that you
Yeah,
guys got going.
it's-
Because the
it's
church right there
definitely-
wants a turn lane as well. The church has been wanting a turn lane for a long time.
Yes, there's 3 churches right there
Yep.
together, so we
Yep.
need something, but we need 100 fixed
Yeah,
too.
and we talked about also, making it a slower area right there as well, the speed
ma'am.
limit. Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Dave Ryan.
Can I borrow that book that you was given to? My name's Dave Ryan. I live at 119 Springside Shortcut Road, and my hat's off to every one of you, okay, for being here, listening to the stuff. I have nothing to say about what's wrong. I have some suggestions on what we could do.
Okay.
We can't 4-lane 100 because outside Floorholm, the road's not even stable to build the road. It's sinking as we go. It's on built on a peat bog. This is my suggestion. If you could think about it just for a second, hop on the bus with me. We're going to be on Highway 100. We're going to go down 100 past the airport. We're heading west. When you pass the airport entrance, you go down to water management entrance. There's 2 entrances. There's a lot of employees there that enter the road. It's 50 miles an hour till we get there. As soon as just before you get the curve, when you're heading west, it goes to 60 miles an hour going around the curve. Unfortunately, there's 12 active driveways on the south side of 100 with multiple residents pulling out on that road.
And anybody that's not from Palatka is going to speed up because it says 60 miles an hour. They're going to speed up to 60 miles an hour. But we all know, and I'm glad Gator's not here, he'd be calling me when I leave, the sheriff's department will give you 5 to 10 miles an hour when they're run, because they got their job to do. They got to go arrest people, beating people up. Highway patrol will give you 7 to 8 miles an hour over the speed limit. So when the speed limit says 60, they're really doing 70 because they know they're going to get 10 miles an hour on the radar. They're not going to pull them over. It's just how it is. Interstate, if it says 70, you're in 75, 80 because they're not going to pull you over. So in reality, people are speeding up from 50 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour, but in the back of their mind, they're going to do 65. Once you go around that corner where all them driveways are on the left, when you're heading west, if you look to the guardrail on the right, there's all kind of screech marks where semis have had to lock their brakes up to hit the guardrail. That guardrail's been replaced bukus of time. It's not their fault. They're doing the speed limit, but a 100,000-pound vehicle, 80,000-pound vehicle, when they're doing 60 miles an hour, and there's 10 cars stopped around that corner, they cannot stop in time. They got to take the ditch. A lot of trucks take the ditch. It's not just pulpwood trucks, it's everybody. But if you look at the guardrail when you go down 100, it's bent all to pieces. They replace it quite often. Let's go on down. We're going down 309C, 60 miles an hour. 309C is 45 miles an hour from 100 to
County
Francis.
line.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Double lines. So when people actually do the speed limit because they don't want a ticket or they don't have a license or they're drinking, there's people passing them 60 miles an hour. That's actually causing a problem. I feel like that road should be 50 miles an hour. But if we pass through 9C, you have Springside Shortcut Road, which if somebody's in a real hurry, they're going to, instead of coming out Barn Road, they're going to cut through the Springside cutoff, and they're hauling butt. Edward, you know what I'm talking about. And because we live off that road, and they're running that road 50 miles an hour. Well, they come to get on there. So they're entering the road where you're doing 60 miles an hour legally, but you can really do 65 to 70 because the radar's not going to stop you until you're doing over 10 miles an hour. So as you pass through a 9C, you pass Springside Shortcut, and then you get to Barton Road. Well, now we got a flashing light, which is great. But the flashing light west of Barton Road is only 300 feet down the road. We need another flashing light farther down that flashes a different color. The color's flashing now, people see it every day, they're not going to pay attention to it. So we're going down 100, you're doing 60 miles an hour. People are thinking they can do 65 or 70, and if you're doing 60, they're going to flip you off when they pass you. It's just how it is. And law enforcement has been an incredible job. The problem with it is we're going to have to go to somebody's funeral because somebody's going to run over them officers trying to do their job because people are not paying attention. When the patrolman gets out to pull somebody over, you about need 2 cars to block it from getting killed. It's dangerous. I would not get out of the car on 100 other than to put flowers on my daughter's cross. So you continue, and then it's when you come into Floor Home, let's turn around and come back east. When you leave Floor Home, you come down the hill. It's 50 miles an hour. When you get down the hill, on the right, it says 60. So as you go down the hill, you can speed up 60 miles an hour, while the other people are slowing down to 50. Well, the people that are behind you coming from Floor Home, they're in a hurry, heading east, they'll pass you on coming down that hill to get around you, and then they enter the curve. So my suggestion is, it needs to be 50 miles an hour. I appreciate what you said about the how you do a survey. So if we were doing 110 on 100, we could do 75. I'm not quite sure how that works. But it needs to be 50 miles an hour all the way to Floor Home. I would suggest 50 miles an hour. I will suggest try to get at least 2 speed indicators on east and westbound where it starts flashing when you exceed the speed limit. Because we all drive with our head thinking about something else. I don't care how good of a driver you are, you're thinking about something else. And sometimes if you don't have on cruise control, you're going to look down and you're going to be speeding. But when that light flashes, it's going to say, oh crap. You go through Alabama, them things are everywhere. You can't, it'd scare you half to death. It's very inexpensive. You don't have to change the geometry of the world. 2 eastbound, 2 westbound to notify people. 50 miles an hour all the way. No passing all the way. Don't pass. If we want a shoulder, non-pervious concrete. You don't have to have no drainage for non-pervious concrete. But also a suggestion, on the north side of 100, from Barton Road to Floor Home, to take majority of the trees out to the nature trail. Those trees are growing toward the sunlight, so they're automatically growing towards the road. When it gets dry, the roots automatically grow to the ditch because that's where the water is. With all the toxins from the railroad bed, which is a great rails to trails, a lot of trees are dying along the rails to trails. If you'll walk it, there's dead trees laying across it every day. So if that's our escape route for the hurricane, and trees are already leaning towards 100, we need to take them out. There's no engineering to be done to take those trees out. Just take the trees out all the way to the trail and be done with it. That's a suggestion. The other suggestion is on 9 Mile, 50 miles an hour. Why get up to 65 miles an hour between the two hills? There's no sense in it. All of our good wrecks happen at 65 miles an hour because they're doing 75 miles an hour. They're not paying attention. So the suggestion is 50 miles an hour, because as Marlene said, from Hawthorne to Interlaken, it's 50 miles an hour. They got sidewalks, bicycle paths, turning lanes, fixing to get pretty trees, irrigation, 50 miles an hour, and it works. 50 miles an hour. I don't care how you rate the road, but statistically, when somebody dies, when Jessica died, she left 4 kids. But the problem also is nobody talks about the 4 kids the guy had that hit her. So there's 8 kids without parents. It's sad. And he was just trying to get in a hurry passing somebody. Simple, some speed indicators, no passing, 50 miles an hour, and that'll bring people that'll do it 60 miles an hour. And for sure, on Barton Road, put some ripples at least 500 feet before you get to Barton Road for people that go to Barton that are not familiar with that stop sign coming onto 100. Them little bumps drive me nuts when I run over them, but it knows, you know something's coming up. And the flashing light at Barton Road, it needs to be another one moved out farther and a different color indicating something's going on up there, not just blink, blink, blink. People get used to it. People are not going to change their habits. So it's just like a kid. If you don't believe in corporal punishment, you see what we got. If you don't regulate it, pull them over, it's not going to change. You can't make these people better drivers. They're just, and we're all guilty of it. We all have sped. If nobody sitting up there has not sped before, wow, you're awesome. But when you're running against time, you're behind. Everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's running behind. Nobody's going to get up earlier and leave earlier, so we have to control the cows. You just funnel them in. No passing, 50 mile an hour all the way, and some speed indicators so they'll know. And FHP and the Sheriff's Department has been doing an incredible job out there. And every time I see them pull somebody over, I say a prayer, please, God, don't run over them people. I would also suggest no more bicycles from Barton Road to Floor Home on 100. They got a bicycle path. They got a whole road built to ride their $10,000 bicycle. No bicycle on the road because they're going to sure enough be killed. You cannot ride a bicycle on 100. And a lot of people with bicycles think they got the right of way. Well, legally they do. But when you got 2 people trying to pass each other in a hurry, they're just the smallest thing that's going to be squished. So there's no sense in a bicycle, especially when they have these rallies, be allowed to ride from 100 from Barton Road to Floor Home when they got a whole path to ride on. There's no sense. I mean, they don't let me ride my truck on there, so it's just a way. That's all I got to say. Thank y'all.
Those bicycles on 100 drive me crazy.
Is Jesse's accident, and I just didn't do that to hurt your feelings. I done it so good. And there's no way to fix it except move forward, and by just small things, traffic indicators where the blue light starts flashing when you're speeding. Oh, I'm speeding. The FHP and the Sheriff's Department cannot control all the dingleberries on that road. They can only do what they can do, and they're doing a great job of it.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of deputies patrol it that aren't sent out there. They're just out there working it. I know a bunch of them is working it. And we just need to, I'm unfiltered. This isn't a BS session. We just got to figure out what'll work. And in all business people, you can't just change a road. You can't build it bigger. It takes years to design it. It's already caving in. It won't support the road now, but we can put in non-passing, slow them down, speed indicators, especially from water management to Barton Road, especially there.
Yep.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the things that we learned in the information we got from DOT. When they even had a traffic count. Now there's a huge traffic area from the water management to Barton area. It was over, that area did have over 10,000 daily drivers. So,
Madam Chairman,
yes.
to go to what Dave was saying, the flashing things, stuff like that. I mean, we have billboards or signs, portable signs. I know that the sheriff's department has, and I think the county has a few that can be set out there from time to time. And I mean, like you're saying, you go past it so many times and you forget it. But if they can be moved and set aside to different places, or even taken away and then put back.
Even unmanned ones with solar, they don't need electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Makes the rednecks shoot them, but just the solar ones that are monitored, just on a pole.
Well, I'm just, what, you're absolutely correct as far as I'm concerned, Dave. That's what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say with the informational boards that we have now, that's something that can happen now. I know it has. I know y'all put them out. But I mean, that's something that can happen now. It doesn't have to wait for $1 million to be brought in by DOT or something like that. I mean, that, you're right. I mean, it needs, and going back again to the billboards, something that brings attention to, oh, this is a bad road, for people coming through that don't know the road. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right. So as we discussed before, our role is to come up with some kind of a recommendation to the BOCC and to the sheriff's office. And so I've been taking some notes today regarding some of the recommendations that we've talked about. But what I would like to see is, as I don't want to, this task force isn't meant to go on forever, right? It's not. So the goal is that we make recommendations back to the BOCC and to the sheriff's office, the enforcement side of it, work with DOT on things that they can, so BOCC would then address concerns with the sheriff's office or FDOT with certain recommendations. Some of those might be some of the things we talked about, like an eastbound turn lane on the Barton Road, truck enforcement, if there's something we can do with that, speed changes that we talked about, the advertisements. I've been trying to take some notes, but encouraging the driver's education courses, the indicators, flashing indicators. So several things here that I just made some notes about. But how we move forward, I guess I'd like to hear from you guys as to, do you want to, by the next meeting that we've come up with, this is our list and this is our goals, or what's the pleasure of everybody on the board? Does anybody have any thoughts? Go ahead, Joe.
I think some of the ideas that were just expressed were fantastic ideas, just as a layman. I hate those trees. You mentioned getting rid of those trees. I think you don't want erosion, and I get it completely, but I mean, that's part of the shoulder issue, is that if you see somebody coming, you got to make a decision. Can I eke through, or do I eat a tree? Which one am I going to do here? So if we could do some, I don't know who's in charge of those trees,
right,
but let's see if we can find some people that can do something with that. If the sheriff's office can put out some of those signs in the short term, that sounds great. I think if we had some short-term things that we can control as a community, and then some kind of medium to long-term goals that we can partner with DOT with, I think that's the most important thing, and that could get us a clear focus. I think I know the schools would be completely in favor of any kind of a public campaign to get our roads safer. because our teenagers are not safe drivers, they're new drivers, but they are not, again, they're not our big problem with DUIs. However, having unsafe, new drivers trying to navigate around equally or more unsafe drivers who are drinking and driving, that creates a huge problem for all of them. So I know that we would be able to partner with changing some of those behaviors as best we can. So I think short-term goals that we can control and long-term goals that we can partner with would be what I'd love to see next time.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Mr. Leary?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. One of the things in conjunction with the trees, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, and a couple people have mentioned that to me, including Board Member Buckles. That's all state-owned, so it can be, they could be removed without any problem and generate some funding for maintaining the balance of the greenway. And also, with respect to the shoulders and the ditches, I've had a lot of experience with ditches and roads in forestry operations and agricultural operations. What needs to happen is those ditches need to be moved further back from the road, be deeper and sloped at, 4-to-1, 5-to-1 slopes, and then back from the ditch to the road, either put impervious concrete or highly stable, lime rock bearing ratio of 50% or greater that would allow people either in emergency vehicles and law enforcement to use those without any problem. And I don't think it would result, because grass is going to grow through any of those means, that somebody would use it as a illegal passing. So that can be done, and with the backhoe, crawler backhoe and a bulldozer, you do a lot of work in a time frame. So I think that should be looked at. Maybe it is being looked at you guys, but I agree with Mr. Ryan that those trees could be taken out. And in fact, somebody had asked me about trying to get some of my friends that currently work in Tallahassee and lobbyists to do it on all roadways. Move those trees back so you've got a greater open area and you can work with your ditches and your shoulders better. So I think that should be one of our priorities. And Madam Chair, as far as moving forward with the committee, I think at our next meeting, we should have a list of, our top priorities and our secondary priorities, and then discuss those, and then the committee rank them in order, and then adopt that as a recommendation to the full county commission and the sheriff's department, and then forward those to DOT.
All right, thank you. That's what I needed to hear. I needed some feedback on that. This is obviously all new to me. Chief?
Yeah, from somebody that drives from one end of this county to the other daily, I think the education part we really need to work on. Aggressive driving is not just on 100. I mean, unfortunately, it's bad. I was on 100 twice yesterday and got passed at 70 miles an hour by people that just didn't want to wait. And it's a terrible road. We all agree on that. But if we could educate from the schools up, it's not just the schools. I mean, the aggressive driver, to be honest with you, is, I would say, you're 35 to 50-year-olds anymore. By looking at the people that I get passed at or cut off by driving in this county. So I really think we need to do some education. DUIs are going to be DUIs unless they're an enforcement. We can put out, please stop the drink and get a ride like we do on every holiday. But just the aggressive driving in this county, I've lived here my whole life, and honestly, since COVID, in my opinion, has went above and beyond anything I've ever seen in the 57 years I've lived here.
Right.
So one other question, and it's just a question. I know during COVID, and this may be a question that the county can answer, driving tests were no longer done with people in the car. It was a visual 3-block. You get out there and drive your car, and we're going to watch you because we can't ride with you anymore. As it went back to an actual in the car driving test now?
I don't know that. I believe it has, because and the only reason I think that's because when I was down there getting my driver's license renewed, I saw them like getting in the same vehicle. So
Okay,
think that
I
has
know
changed.
the whole 2.5 years of COVID, everybody that got a driver's license at that time, nobody was in the car with them. They literally did, it was a 3-block thing. I worked in Crescent City at the time, and they did it right there behind Crescent City Fire Department in a 3-block, and if you could do a 3-point turnaround, park in the cones and back up, they went in and gave you a driver's license. And that's the people we're dealing with driving on the road. That's why I think education is my high priority that we can do something about as a committee.
Yeah.
DOT's working on what I agree with the trees. I agree with the portable signs that the county has to get up a message to drive safe, but I think they should be all over the county.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and this isn't all about Highway 100. Highway 100 was the catalyst that started it, but there are certainly other areas in the county that have issues as well. Highway 100 just seems to be the focus point because of what we, how we started. And then we do know that there are some very serious areas in there that have a higher crash rate than other areas in the county. So we did focus on that. All right, Liz, over here on this end, is there any comment or feedback on this end that we want to have? All right, so what I'm hearing is,
I have some.
yes, go ahead, Mr. Coates. Brett, sorry.
It's okay that we add a third entity to that. You said the Board of County Commission and the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
We also add the school board.
Oh, yeah, okay. And what was it, so when we say school board, what would be their request for the educational portion of it?
Education.
Okay, yeah. So what we're saying is, at the next meeting, we will discuss, almost have like a moderating type meeting, and we'll have, talk about our top priorities, our second priorities, rank them, and then divide those requests up between DOT, BOCC, and the school district, and FHP, I guess, law enforcement together. And then for right now, let's talk about things that we are doing right now that we can do right now. Regarding the flashing signs, Terry, do we have flashing signs? I thought they were all the sheriffs. Do we have our own flashing signs?
I believe we do, so I'll check with Mr. Stout next week and see what we can do about assisting with that. I think we may have some, and so we'll look at that as well, but I also want to make sure that we don't violate anything with that being a state road out there as well, about us placing signage on the state road. We've been down that road before, but it was a permanent sign. So I'll work with DOT and see if we can't get some dialogue going back and forth about location and where we might be able to place some signs.
Yeah, I do think if we just had, even if it's just one is all we have on each side of the road, that section between Barden Road and Roberts Lane, which we know is heavily an issue. But the good news is, today we did receive some good news. We learned some things today. We learned, number one, that, in my opinion, number one is the amount of fatal crashes is 60% involves DUIs. That's shocking to me. So that's something that we're going to have to work on as a community. And then second, the signage at Barden Road and 100 has helped. We also already know, we just don't have the exact numbers about the enforcement has been helping on Highway 100 as well. We just don't have those exact numbers. So I do think we are seeing some reduction of crashes in that area. To the sheriff's point when he was here, you can't control somebody. I think he said something about stupid games and stupid prizes. So if somebody's jumping on a motorcycle and they're drinking and driving and they're doing something crazy, we can't control that. But we can certainly do everything we can in our wheelhouse to try to find any resources and anything we can do to try to help the community and help with education. So right now we can work on flashing signs. This outreach program we have, we can share that. We are still growing and finishing up. So this program is ready to go. This one's ready to go. And then the other one, the 100, State Road 100% Sober, we're still working on this campaign, right? Okay. So what do you need on this one to get this one up and going? So the digital outreach and the, obviously, that's something you guys can do. The geofencing you can do. You can go ahead and move forward on that. Social media, we can all help with that. DOT can do that. BOCC can do that. The fire department can do that. The sheriff's office can get out social media regarding that. In-person outreach, so some signage. Billboards are going to take a little bit to work on. And then it says you have some summer promotions. Let's see, what are we talking about? Oh, that was the 100 Days of Summer. I got that. Okay. And this FDOT Target Zero initiative, did we talk about that?
We hadn't emphasized it. The Target Zero obviously is 0 deaths and 0 injuries, and we're available with events that you might select or instances where you select. We can come out and promote Target Zero initiative and hand out information and little items to reinforce that message. So we're looking for your guidance on where to go and where to show up that you feel would make a difference.
Okay. All right. I see that there's got some National Highway Safety Administration driver sober campaign, and then a statewide initiative to reduce the number of transportation-related serious injuries. Okay. So anyway, those are some things that we can immediately work on, and signage. Like I said, we have some people that I'm sure we could get some banners and get some signs up. So we would just have them coordinate with me, and then I would get with you, one of you guys.
Outlining the banner you want, we have some good ideas, perhaps. It may not be 100% consistent with your community. How it will benefit your community.
Okay, so, team, if we look at this flyer right here, if we look at this, I guess he's saying, out of these, which one do we like? I mean, I like them all, so it's hard for me to pick. The not-so-fast one seemed to catch Ed's attention down here. This one right here was pretty, this one.
By the way, these little yard signs,
Yeah,
they're your take-home.
there are take-homes, okay.
And I've got the little supports here for the put in. So
Okay,
the first step, the first increment, you can use it as you wish, showing it and helping people get started and get used to the idea that
do you have a radio clip already that we can, like, if we went to our local radios, we could say something, whether I read it or Marlene reads it or somebody, could you get us something like that that says, just some little clip that if Marlene wanted to go to Hope FM and, yeah, a voiceover, yep, I don't know the right language, yep, that's right. And, hi, I'm Marlene Ryan and I'm here to say blah, 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 and then something like that. If you could give us that, we feel like that we probably would get the local radios to work with us on this yeah, and on the YouTubes, yep, on the YouTube channels, we could do that.
figure out the best time frame. 10 seconds isn't enough, and that's way too much.
Right. Right. Well, if you could give us the wording, we'll let the radio stations record them. We just want to say the right words.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
the sign thing, when you first started putting those out a while ago, caught my attention, a lot, not just here, but, that, if we could somehow put those out, it's like I said to Dave a while ago about putting something out that's new. It's like political signs.
Right.
You don't put them out but 30 days before the race because you want people to notice it. And so I think that would be, right now, would be a time to do that. It's something that don't cost, if you've got the signs, it wouldn't cost us much to get them out and just get them out and get them on the road for a while.
Yeah, because we are in that 100-day period. Yes. Okay.
How many signs you want, other than, 10,000. You look at how many signs.
Well, we don't want to litter our community. I'm sure it won't be 10,000. So don't worry. Okay, all right, we can work on that. So those are the immediate things that I think we can work on. Is there anything else that anybody has that's immediate? And go ahead, Miss Marlene.
I don't know if it's possible, but what if we got GP or Seminole to be involved in funding some of the education parts for our
Oh, I
community?
definitely think that's a possibility. Yeah, I don't see that as not, I think they would definitely, we could have those kind of conversations.
Chris Janet, the GP is very helpful on all our educational stuff.
Chris Gent, yeah,
He's the public information officer.
yeah, I think we can have those conversations.
So how does that work? Do you reach out to them, or what do you do? What
Well,
would you do?
Julianne just left, so let's give it to her. I'm just teasing, but seriously, she might have the contact. She might have the relationship, I'm not sure.
We do, and we'll reach out to not only them, but some other partners that I think would be willing to help us out as well. I think we got a lot of good folks in this community that be willing to support this process. I really do.
And even if there's something we can pass out at churches, I think, even though churches aren't the ones who's doing the DUIs, but they might be sharing the information.
That is correct.
That's the whole purpose.
I think that's a very good idea. And Madam Chair, just want to make it, we don't need to say this, but we are anyway. Anything that this committee feels is appropriate and wants us to make sure that we get out, our IT department, our public information individual will absolutely flood the media, in every way that we can to make sure this information gets out. So I've been taking notes as well about, there's about 7 or 8 ideas. And once we come together and figure out what it is that we want to do, including the videos and things and flyers from DOT, I think we can make that happen as soon as y'all would like to have that done.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Those are the immediate needs we do want to have done. We do want to start that. We do want to start that campaign. We don't want to wait till our next meeting to do that. I think the next meeting will include the hard items, what our short-term and long-term goals are, whether it's permanent signage or road changes or enforcement, those kind of things. But the what we can work on today and do is the flashing signs like we talked about on Highway 100, and then if we can, I know that's going to be a question, and then working on these outreach campaigns that DOT has already queued up for us. We just need to help get that information out there. Yes, sir?
Whatever actions you take to at least communicate with us, because we want to make sure that everything's done in a.
Yes, sir, we agree with that.
We'd like to track the fun things that you're doing as well.
Yep, okay, no problem, we'll be glad to do that. We want to definitely, we will definitely be working with you, because you're the conduit for the material anyway. I mean, we just want to share. I mean, sharing is allowed, right, without.
You have the thumb drive.
Right.
Please use them.
Okay, all right, yes, sir?
Sorry to pass this after I'm talking, but the geofencing, does that mean when you get to an area, you can actually send them a message?
Yeah, you might want to come up and speak about that.
Geofencing is a mechanism where we actually acquire information from different sources, and like the sheriff and law enforcement can say, when you use a phone in a crime, you can track it, triangulate, and figure out who was there doing what. Well, to a much lesser degree, we can access and utilize that information. So we'll just know the sheriff went through here. Later on, not now because we don't want distracted driving, we will send you a message, say, be careful, or there's a lane change coming up or something. It's an informational response after you've taken the action of going through this area that we've put a geofence around. So it's just an electronic acknowledgement that you were there, that we then access and send a little information later. Does that help? It's after we have to know you were there. It's usually through your cell phone, because your cell phone's what pings on the tower.
There's no payments. It's just what he's saying is it would be like a public service announcement that comes on your phone.
We can, there are services that will access Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cell phone, sneezing. I mean, there's just all sorts of. Well, that's my point, is we gather that information, understand, we can purchase that, And then after you're elsewhere, not driving, we can just send a text message, say, hey, something interesting is going on, be careful, etc.
Yeah.
That help?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, as far as the next meeting, what are we thinking? That was our next, next item of discussion. What's that? How long is it gonna take to do what?
Put the priorities in, just.
Well, I mean, I have the notes that I took today, but I want you guys to, you can send the priorities to Miss Laura. So Laura sends you out the information. If you have any ideas or priorities you want to get, you can send them to Laura Berardi, and then she can gather them up, and we'll have them in writing at the next board meeting. Right? Is that what we're saying?
I want to make
Yes.
sure I understand. She's going to ask us, or we're going to volunteer?
Just
to
go
send
ahead and do it. Yeah, that's what we're going to, do you need an email to ask?
I don't think it hurts as a reminder.
Okay, all right, we can do
I will,
that.
Madam Chair, I'll have Ms. Berardi reach out to each one of the members of the committee and ask them to go ahead and start supplying the information requested, and we'll include it in the next agenda.
Okay, all right. So, and I know everybody's ready to go home. Do we want to meet toward the end of July? Maybe about a month from now? The 24th, would that be okay? And, yeah, we can do that. That's a proposed date. Does anybody have anything against that right now? All right, well, we put that as a proposed date and time. So July 24th, probably about 3 o'clock, same way, and hopefully we'll be able to wrap up what our priorities will be and what our suggestions will be to the different entities. And, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. If we could, I'll have Ms. Berardi reach out the first of next week. If we could get those back to her a week or so in advance of our meeting, so we can get all that information put together and get an agenda out
Okay.
in time for everybody.
All right, and again, I want to thank DOT for coming today and giving us information, sharing the data you have, the projects that you're already working on. I think that's exciting. That's very good that you've listened to us. Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for listening to the community and providing these updates and what you're already working on, many of them which are focused on improving areas that will improve safety in the community. And so thank you for that. And with that, is there any other thing to come before the board? All right, this meeting's adjourned.